Welcome to this episode. Have you subscribed yet? Chapter 23. The umbilical cord blood at the bottom of the medical kit. The candle in the paper making shop flickered in the night wind. Su Wangyan stared at the small coffin that had suddenly appeared. The inscription Lin Yunyang, the 20th human pillar on the coffin lid, glowed faintly with the light of the red sand from the bottom of the river. The wisdom tooth he had lost 10 years ago was embedded in the eye socket of the mask, and the red sand on the tooth root was exactly the same as the sediment at the bottom of the Yinshui River. It was the baby tooth he had unconsciously dropped when he was crying exhaustedly on the bank when his mother was laid in the coffin. Brother Wangyan. Lin Yunyang's voice came from outside the paper-making shop. The wooden door creaked. The silver bracelet around her neck hit the doorframe, making a faint buzzing sound. Su Wangyan hurriedly closed the coffin lid, but before it closed completely, he saw the 1,000-hand pattern embroidered on the inner lining, exactly the same as the ancient symbol at the bottom of the river God stealing in his dream last night. The copper buckle of the medical kit glistened coldly in the moonlight. Su Wangyan remembered the human anatomy diagrams in Lin Yunyang's medical notes. The position of each heart was marked with a coffin-shaped notch. When he lifted the craft paper at the bottom of the box, a blood-stained umbilical cord suddenly slipped out. The incantation at the end of the umbilical cord became visible under the flashlight. For the twin fiends, same soul in different bodies. Destroy one, and the twin fiends will perish. This line of words was exactly the same as the small characters on the inner circle of the silver bracelet before Chen Xiaozi died. And the blood type of the umbilical cord was neither his type O nor Lin Yunyang's type AB. That's the umbilical cord from when Mother split the soul in 1937. Lin Yunyang somehow stood behind him. Her fingertips gently traced the incantation on the umbilical cord. The coffin-shaped birthmark on the back of her neck suddenly grew hot, casting the shadow of a stone coffin on the wall. Chen Xiaozi said that there was no half-wisp of your soul in my life. Fate, originally. So every time there's a river god sacrifice, your soul would enter my body. When you fell into the Yinshui River for 3 days at the age of 10, actually, I took the first backlash of the river God's vein for you. Su Wangyan's temples throbbed violently. The memories of when he was 10 years old suddenly became blurred. He remembered that the words, the 20th human pillar, were engraved on the inner side of the stone coffin lid at the bottom of the river, and he remembered his mother's red wedding dress floating in the water, but he couldn't remember where the bruises on the back of Lin Yunyang's neck came from when he was fished out. At this moment, he stared at the silver bracelet on Lin Yunyang's wrist and suddenly found that the birth dates of the twin fiends on the inner circle of the bracelet were slowly changing positions. His birth date was engraved in the Yunyang position, and Lin Yunyang's birth date coincided with Wang Yan. Let's go to the ancestral hall. Lin Yunyang picked up the umbilical cord. When the incantation touched her palm, the entire picture of the river god Stele was reflected under her skin. Chen Xiaozi said that the tomb keepers of Luo men cut their fingers from generation to generation, but the pagoda tree root scar on the back of the village head's neck, ... double quotes. She suddenly stopped, her eyes falling on the ligneous birthmark on Su Wangyan's left ring finger. The pattern was spreading along his palm at this moment, casting a 1,000-hand-shaped shadow on the table. The ever-burning lamp in the ancestral hall went out at midnight. Su Wangyan used a lighter to illuminate the genealogy. Next to twin fiends, Wangyan, Yunyang, on the page of 1937, a line of small characters somehow appeared. Xunyang was pregnant with twins in her womb. One inherits the divine vein, and the other carries the fierce soul. The ink was as fresh as if written yesterday, but it carried the smell of rotten wood soaked in river water. As his fingertips slid across the words, the genealogy suddenly buzzed. The pagoda wood tablets at the base of the wall trembled collectively. Tiny blood beads seeped out from the back of each tablet, gathering on the ground to form the words 2023 Dragon Boat Festival. Mother wasn't pregnant at all in 1937. Lin Yunyang suddenly spoke. Her voice was like paper soaked in water. I found her pregnancy test form in the infirmary. It said, abnormal fetal image, the bloodline of the twin fiends awakening. Chen Xiaozi said that the twin fiends are not twins, but the same soul split into two parts and injected into two bodies respectively. You are the container for the left eye, and I'm the container for the right eye. and mother was the initial carrier. Su Wanyan remembered the torn page from his mother's diary. In August 1937, Brother Wanshen said that Yunyang's birth date xiangchong with the river god Stile, but my belly ... At that time, he thought it was a record of his mother's pregnancy. Now he was shocked to realize that what her belly carried was not a fetus, but a split soul. The umbilical cord at the bottom of the medical kit suddenly caught fire. In the flames, the Nuo opera stage in 1937 emerged. Su Xunyang was wearing the 19th mask, with blood-colored incantations wrapped around her abdomen, each corresponding to the ligneous pattern on his left ring finger. Lin Wanshen engraved the birth dates of all the villagers on the back of the tablets. Lin Yunyang pointed to the blank space on the last page of the genealogy. 2 lines of blood-colored words somehow appeared there. The blood of the twin fiends can activate the evil energy of the amputated limb and also purify the sacrifice. That's why he created us in 1937, betting the lives of all the villagers to revive the left hand of the thousand-hand corpse god. Her silver bracelet suddenly let out a shrill scream. The surface of the bracelet reflected the scene at the bottom of the Yinshui River. The 19 stone coffins were rearranging. In the center of the thousand-hand pattern formed by the coffin leads, the 20th stone coffin slowly rose. Inside the coffin lay a paper figure in a red wedding dress, with a face exactly like Su Wanyan's. A dull sound of stone coffins colliding came from outside the ancestral hall. Su Wanyan lifted the curtain and saw that the 19 stone coffins were arranged along the root veins of the mountain god pagoda tree. The eye sockets of the Nuo opera masks on the inner side of the coffin leads glowed red, like 19 bloodshot eyes. Lin Yunyang suddenly grabbed his wrist, her fingertips pressing on the ligneous birthmark. Both of them simultaneously saw a sealed-off memory. On the night of the coffin sinking in 1993, Mother Su Xunyang didn't die. Her soul attached to the mask and wove Su Wangyan's childhood memories through the river god's vein, including the silver bracelet he picked up at the age of 10, the suspense novels he created in college, and even the current scene in the ancestral hall were all protective shields, pieced together by his mother's soul. These memories may be fake, but the love isn't. Lin Yunyang's voice carried the smell of river water. Only then did Su Wangyan notice that the Yinshui River was flooding at her feet, and her skirt was already soaked. Every Protect Wangyan that mother engraved in the stone coffin was real. And it was also true that Chen Chezi maintained the paper figure with the soul summoning technique for 30 years. She raised her hand, and half of a pagoda wood tablet lay in her palm. The incantation on the back was absorbing her blood. And now, the river God's Vein is calling us. The 20th stone coffin should be closed. Suddenly, the sound of glass shattering came from the direction of the paper-making shop. When Su Wanyan rushed back, he found that the coffin lid of the small coffin had been opened. What was lying inside wasn't a mask, but half of a yellowed theater ticket. The date was fixed on the Dragon Boat Festival in 1937. The seat number corresponded to the 19th stone coffin at the bottom of the river. The signature of the ticket specter was Chen Xiazi, but the handwriting was exactly the same as that in the account book in the hidden compartment of Lin Wanshan's office. Even more strangely, on the back of the theater ticket, it was engraved with a fingernail. Luo men in Qian region swear by cutting fingers. The right hand amputated limb is hidden in the soul-swallowing bamboo hat. Brother Wanyan, Lin Yunyang somehow stood at the door of the paper-making shop. The coffin-shaped birthmark on the back of her neck was splitting. Half turned into fishtail patterns and half became pagoda wood textures. Chen Xiazi said that the right-hand amputated limb of the thousand hands was in the soul-swallowing bamboo hat of the corpse driver. But look, she pointed to the Yinshui River. In the center of the thousand-hand pattern formed by the 19 stone coffins, the coffin lid of the 20th stone coffin slowly opened. What was lying inside wasn't a paper figure, but a corpse in modern adventure clothes. The birthmark on the left ring finger was exactly the same as his. This is the Su Wanyan in 1963, and also the previous twin fiends. Half of a diary fell out of the corpse's pocket. On the yellowed paper pages, it was written, "Every 30 years the twin fiends are reborn in Yinshan, with new memories, repeating the same fate." Lin Wanshan isn't the village head. He's a remnant of the Thousand Hands. The pagoda tree root scar on the back of his neck is the incarnation of the corpse god's finger. The ink weathered the moment it came into contact with the air, revealing the blood-colored words underneath. This time, don't let Yunyang be laid in the coffin for you. Outside the window, the waves of the Yinshui River suddenly stopped. The 19-stone coffins simultaneously turned towards the paper-making shop. The eye sockets of the masks on the inner side of the coffin lids reflected Su Wenyan's reflection. He saw that his left ring finger was breaking, revealing the pagoda wood texture inside. And on the back of Lin Yunyang's neck, a ligneous pattern exactly the same as his somehow appeared. They were turning into the same sacrifice. The river god's sacrifice for the next 10-year cycle has started ahead of time. Lin Yunyang looked down at the broken knife fragment in her palm. It was the half-mask left by her mother, and at this moment, it was absorbing her blood. The tomb keepers of Luomen said that the blood of the twin fiends can cut off the Thousand Hands, but look ... She pointed to the coffin group. In the center of the thousand-hand pattern, on the inner side of the coffin lid of the 20th stone coffin, the overlapping silhouettes of the two of them were somehow engraved. Our blood has long been the nourishment for the 1,000 hands. Su Wanyan tightly held the theater ticket. His fingertips touched the tooth mark at the ticket root, the mark his mother had bitten when she was laid in the coffin. The wooden door of the paper making shop swayed in the wind, making a creaking sound, as if urging him to leave or as if reluctant to let him go. And he knew that the moment the 20th stone coffin completely rose, the fates of him and Lin Yunyang would be forever tied to the pupils of the thousand-hand corpse god. Either they would become sacrifices together, allowing the bloody Nuo opera to continue, or they would cut off this 100-year cycle together, even if the price was their own destruction. The Yinshui River suddenly boiled. The sound of bubbles bursting was like countless people crying underwater. Su Wanyan looked at Lin Yunyang and found that her reflection was overlapping with the corpse in the stone coffin, and on the wrist of that corpse was the silver bracelet left by his mother. He finally understood that Chen Chezi's soul summoning technique for 30 years was not for protection, but for waiting for the twin fiends to return to their positions, waiting for the left and right eyes of the thousand-hand corpse god to open again. The end of this episode. The story continues. Subscribe now.